Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel, Rome with Romy. Y'all, I don't know where to start with this story, to be honest with you guys. I had a few of y'all recommend that I watch Reesa Tessa's Who the F Did I Marry? And I've heard about it, it was really popular last month on social media. So I heard about it, but when I heard that it was like a 50-part series, I was like, I don't know if I have time to listen to 50 parts of a story. But your girl did. I surely did. So last week, I took it upon myself to watch Reesa Tessa's Who the F Did I Marry series. When I tell y'all, I was bewildered, confused. I was triggered. I want this video to be like, I spent all week trying to think of a direction or which direction that I wanted to take this video, because I'm sure that there's so many other content creators who have covered this story. I know that some of them have done an amazing job of covering this story. I don't want to go into the story again, but for those who haven't watched it, I know that you'll want to know what is going on. If this is your first time hearing about this, who the F did I marry? Because obviously this was on TikTok. Maybe some of you guys don't have TikTok. So what I'm going to do is try to summarize this as short as possible, and also add in my tips and advice that I think would be useful to you guys. So if you want to hear a synopsis and my take on Reesa Tessa's Who the F Did I Marry? Please stay tuned. First and foremost, I do want to say something directly to Reesa Tessa. I don't know if she'll ever watch this video, or if anyone has found themselves in a situation like Reesa Tessa. Just know that you are not alone and that this happens to so many people. I just feel like people have been saying some really negative and harsh things to her and about her.
To be honest with you, man, I hear a lot of big back behavior. Does she have a big back?
She do give Sheila that was driving up the mountain.
Okay.
I feel like it's unwarranted for the simple fact that any of us can be put in a situation at any time. So never think that you're better than someone else, or you think that, oh, I would never do that, I'll never do this, because you could find yourselves in the same situation. Even though you may think that you're smarter than someone, or you think that you've been through life better, or that, oh, that could never be me, that's them. No, I could never. You could. You definitely could. When you're seeing something as a third party or from the outside, it's easier for you to condemn and judge someone, versus when you're in that exact same situation, you'll probably move differently because everyone goes through things differently, right? So I really, truly want you guys to hear this story and listen to it and not just judge this woman because she made a lot of mistakes. We all do, right? But I want it to be kind of like a teachable moment where we can all learn something from it, including myself, because baby, this story right here, it is crazy. So first off, let's start with who's involved in this story. So we have Reesa Tessa Johnson. So Reesa Tessa is her TikTok handle. And then we have her ex-husband. His real name is Jerome McCoy. However, the internet now knows him as Legion. For those of you who are not well versed in biblical history, Legion comes from the Bible, and it is basically a group of demons. So basically there is not just one demon, there's many demons in this man, and this man is just possessed. So that's his name, y'all. That's what she called him. So we're gonna have to call him Legion. Legion and Reesa Tessa, they met in 2020. And the reason why this speaks a lot to me is because this could have been me. This could have been me. Reesa Tessa's story is the worst case situation that can happen when you meet someone. And my story was the best case situation or scenario that could happen when you meet someone. So I met my husband in July of 2020. Reesa Tessa met her husband in 2020, but she met him in March of 2020. So I will say this though, like it could have gone left. And by the grace of God, for me, I ended up having a happy ending. But for Reesa Tessa, she got the short end of the stick. Reesa Tessa, I guess the pandemic just happened. People getting lonely. Borders are shut down. Cities are shut down. We don't know what the hell is going on. So she gets to going on dating sites. Now, this is tip number one. Because just right out the gate, I was like, ma'am, 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 ma'am.
So I met my ex-husband around March 4th of 2020. We met on Facebook dating site, and we also matched on Hinge.
When she said that she met him on Hinge and on a Facebook dating group, I already knew, sweetie, that's a red flag. That's a red, 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 crimson flag. Not even a red flag, it's crimson. It is dark red. Menstrual red, okay? It is a big red flag. Red, 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 red. Because Hinge, Facebook dating. First of all, Hinge is already on its own. But y'all go on Facebook to date? The book of the face? No, ma'am. So I could have told her, girl, skirt. No. Matter of fact, all online dating sites are trash. And I'm speaking from someone who used to be on them. And that's the reason why and how I know that they're trash. Maybe 20 years ago when they were created, they actually were great because at the time the internet was still new. So people were still acting normal and people were still very serious about dating and meeting other people to connect with. But nowadays, it's just become such a hookup site. So I would strongly recommend not to meet people on online dating. Fun fact, I did meet my husband online, but it wasn't online dating. It was a language exchange app. But granted, people did use it for dating though, so I don't know. But anyway, it wasn't advertised as an online dating app. So it was easy to really meet people and for it, the purposes of it to be language exchange and nothing more. If it's a dating site, you know that there's an expectation that you will date. Nobody gets on a dating site for friendship. And if they say that, that is the weirdest thing ever. So I just feel like there's quality, better quality, a caliber of men on non-dating sites. So if you must look for someone online, I would recommend looking for them in groups where you can meet people that have the same interests as you. I feel like it's a better way of connecting with someone rather than automatically going for the purpose of dating, because these men out here, as we will hear in this story, you can meet anyone at any time, any place, and they could be lying in your face. So now, she met him online. Those two sites, she saw his profile picture. That's where we start off. Then they get to connecting with each other. So they start to talk and then they start to really get to know each other on a deeper level. One thing that she said that stuck out to me was that he was more talkative than her.
I thought, that's great. You're looking to get a house. You just moved here. He was like, I don't really know too many people here because I spend all my time at work and, this job is really demanding. So that was our first phone call. We talked more. He talked a lot, which took me by surprise because I'm not really used to men talking more than me.
And I was like, whoop, there it is. There it is. So, there's nothing wrong with a man being talkative. There are a lot of talkative men out there. I know there are a lot of extroverted men out there, and maybe, they just love to talk. But liars also love to talk. They love to hear themselves talk because it's just a mechanism for them. They love to hear themselves talk. So if a man is talking, but nothing he says is of substance, and he's just telling you a whole bunch of things because he's trying to build himself up to be a person that you can trust because he's offering information that you haven't asked him yet. And when someone does that, that's a red flag. That's not a red flag. No. She had said United Nations of red flags. No. That's a crimson flag. Crimson flag. The reason why is because he's trying to kind of get in front of you. So he's trying to get one step ahead of you. Oh, she ain't gonna ask me this because I'm gonna tell her, I'm gonna offer up all this information. So this man said he was a VP of a condiment company. This man told her that he used to live in San Diego, and he told her that he was married before. He said that his ex-wife cheated on him, and so they got a divorce, but he's still close to the kids. He also said that, you know, he has family members. He has 2 sisters and 3 brothers and a whole bunch of family and all these things. And yes, that is normal to say to someone that you just met. But it seemed like he was just talking up a storm. Talk, 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 chat, 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 chat. And that to me shows that that person, that would make me feel a little suspicious, because I'm like, why are you offering all this information up? Like, it's kind of weird, right? It's a little suspect. When you meet someone and they're so quick to offer up information about themselves, I find that that's a bit suspicious. And of course, I don't want to say that that's everyone, but in this day and age, I just feel like there has to be some type of social cues. And if he's offering up a lot of information, he's talking up a storm, and he's trying to sell himself. Let's just say that I probably would put that in the back of my mind as something ain't right. Something is not right. You can't brush that one off. I just think that he was offering up too much information, and she was willingly accepting it because she was so desperate, unfortunately. And she even said it herself. So I'm not saying anything that she doesn't know about herself. Of course, she's very self-aware. And that's one thing I loved about her videos, is she really told everyone, hey, I was foolish, but I don't want y'all to be foolish either. A man who offers up too much information unprovoked is a red flag. Crimson flag. On her way to their first date, her tire blew out. And then he came out to help her fix her tire. And she said that she was really attracted because he fixed her tire. So not only did he come out and help her, which is really good, by the way, I mean, that's the least someone could do. And then he paid for their date. So she's just like, oh, he's a man's man.
He changes my tire, which I just thought was the sexiest thing in the world. He followed me to the tire place and then helped me get a tire, paid for it. So I was definitely like, wow. And so the vibe was good.
And that's another tip that I'm going to give y'all. Please do not praise these men for the bare minimum. So Reesa Tessa and Legion, they start getting into it now. Now it's hot and heavy because he paying for everything. He's daddy, 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 daddy. Daddy, 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 daddy. He's big daddy now. You know, he paying for things. He's saying, hey, I got it. Don't worry. And she's like, okay, that's all I've ever wanted.
He paid all the household bills. So my check really was just taking care of me, myself, and I. And I am not, this is where it's not going to make me look good, but it's the truth. It was intoxicating to not have to worry financially about how to pay the bills.
Okay, he's paying all the bills. First of all, they're living in 2 separate places. He was living in a studio at the time, and she was renting, I think she said she was renting I don't remember what she was renting, but she was renting a house or something, or a 2-bedroom. So then they both decide to move in together. 2 weeks after meeting. 2 weeks.
The decision was made, quarantine at my house. So the state went on lockdown. He came and stayed with me in my home. And for the most part, in the initial beginning, it was fine. It was fine.
So now she's happy. He's happy. Now, he says that they're going to look for a house together. And, you know, he's spending all this money. So she's thinking, okay, he got it. I'm good. This man, yo, I'm telling you, like, I'm flabbergasted. So when it came time to look for a house, mind you, they're buying a house. They're not renting a house. They decided they're going to buy a house because, remember, he's a VP of a condiment company. So he's just saying he got money. He said he got some settlement from like playing football or something like that. So then he got a lot of money because she was trying to figure out like, where's this money coming from? Because he was paying her bills and his bills. So she was like, all right, cool. I ain't got to question too much because you taking care of everything. You handling the daddy. So I don't have to really think about anything. Well, then the time comes to look for a house. They get a realtor. and she's asking for like his bank statements and stuff like that. He told her that he has an offshore account, that he has a Chase account, and that he has multiple accounts. The only bank statement that she ever received from him or that she ever saw was the Chase account.
I remember asking him, can you afford the mortgage on a $750,000 house? Because I know I can't. This is when he explains to me, I told you how I played arena football. I invested my money really well. So he said, I have money that will help pay for the mortgage. He was like, we're good. Like, I'm financially, I am okay. He said he had an account with Chase Bank, he had an account with US Bank, and he had an offshore account. This is what he told me.
So she never questioned that something was off. She thought that, okay, he has a Chase account. And then she was working at the time, full time. I believe she was working with the Georgia Sheriff's Department. I'll put in where she was working, but she had a good job. And he was saying he was a VP. So she was like, okay, cool. They go house hunting around Atlanta and the Atlanta area or around Georgia because she didn't want to stay in Clayton. I'm not familiar with Georgia, unfortunately, but I guess where she was staying wasn't a good place, and she said that she wanted to move somewhere else. Every time that it came time to close on a house, there was something that happened.
I'm asking him all the time, what's the deal with the house? He was like, oh, because of COVID, they're trying to get someone to do the inspection, but the guy that they had, it was always something. The guy they had caught COVID, so they're going to have to get somebody else.
So the first time, the house closing didn't go through because he said that he was going to use his friend, that's a realtor, and that, because obviously when you use a real realtor, there's a process that you have to go through. You have to show your finances, you have to show different types of things, you have to show where you got your money, how you got it's a very meticulous process.
We were set to close the end of May. He told me it was going to be a virtual closing. For some reason, I didn't start packing.
So he fooled her into thinking that, he was going to use one of his realtor friends to get the house because I guess the house was under banknote or something. I didn't really understand that part. Point is that he said that he was going to use his friend and his realtor friend was going to let them get the house. He was going to be able to do that. So they didn't get the house. And around the same time, she found out that she's pregnant. And this is another red flag because once she found out she was pregnant, that's when she started getting desperate, like really desperate, because she said that she comes from a religious family and she never thought that she would shack up with someone who's not her husband. And also now she's carrying his child.
In May, I found out I was pregnant. May 2020. When I found out I was pregnant, he was ecstatic and I was like, oh shit. For one, I'm plus size. Number two, because of my age, I felt like it was probably gonna be a high risk pregnancy. And I wasn't married. And that nagged. I cannot tell y'all how much it nagged me. There was a lot of internal struggle.
This tip is coming to you as a former church girl. Do not feel like you have to get married to someone because of the circumstances. I have seen way too many people get married because they're either pregnant or they don't want to embarrass the family and they're forced to marry a person and they end up getting divorced or separated. I just don't think that it's a good enough reason for you to get married. And I understand the purpose because, you want to keep your family unit, and I get it. But at the same time, it's like, because she was so hard on herself and she was a former church girl and she felt like, oh my God, I'm sinning. That made her more pressed to get married to this Legion man.
I grew up in the church. So for me, it was really like an internal struggle of, bruh, you always said you would never live with a guy unless he was your husband. And now you living with a dude and he ain't your husband. Like, it was a struggle for me. I was pregnant. So we're living together. We're having a baby together. We need to get married because the backstory also was that his dad was a retired police officer, but at one point his father was a pastor. So he could quote the Bible like nobody's business, as we all know, so can Lucifer. But anyway, he could quote the Bible like no one's business.
And at the time, Legion was already showing that he wasn't trustworthy because the house thing fell through. She was pregnant. And then, unfortunately, she did end up miscarrying the baby. And she had to get a procedure done. And he was nowhere to be found. Nowhere to be found. In her time of need, when she needed him the most, He said that, oh, he had something come up at work. He couldn't get out of a meeting, or he couldn't get out of the work event, and he couldn't see her at the hospital.
My ex was going to take me. That was always the plan. 2 days before my procedure, he comes home and tells me that he is up for a promotion. He's up to be promoted to VP. Because of this, the president of the company, excuse me, is coming in, and it was going to be this huge business meeting he had to go to. The business meeting was scheduled for the day of my surgery. And so I'm throwing a fit, because I was like, you know, there's no way you can do that meeting. Like, I need you to take me to the hospital and all this other stuff. And so he offered to have his sister take me to the hospital. Apparently his sister lived in Douglasville. I was like, no, because I've never met her.
And she ends up going with one of her best friends. But he wasn't even there when she was going through one of the most horrific, I would say it's probably one of the most horrific experiences a woman can go through on her own. And I've never been through it, but I really pray, and my heart goes out to others who have gone through that, because that is a traumatic experience. And to know that the father of your child has prioritized other things, and at the time she didn't know that he was lying. He was lying. But he couldn't even be bothered to be there for her. And that already showed you that he did not love this woman. If someone really loves you, they will drop whatever it is to come and see you. They will not let you go through that alone, especially the father of your child. Mind you, they're not even married yet. Okay? So now she's seeing all of these stories are not adding up, but she's brushing them off because she, really wants to trust this guy. And she said that she kept questioning herself, because she said that, maybe I'm just not used to a good man. Maybe I shouldn't be digging deeper. Maybe that's how, men treat you. And I just don't know what a good man is.
I knew there was something. Something was nagging me like, But I kept pushing it out of my mind. I was like, you saw, this is what I reminded myself. You saw him pay for the appliances. You know the house is under contract. You know that he told you that he's the one who put the house under contract. Why would, I remember saying to myself, why would he lie about that? This is so easy to verify. Why would he lie about that? Have you caught him in any other lie? And at the time, the answer was no. So I really was like, maybe you just aren't used to a guy who actually does what he's supposed to do. I was questioning myself and then answering my own questions.
And I'm just here to let y'all know that is not a good man. From the time that he did not accompany her to her DNC, that told me everything that I needed to know about this man. Well, mind you, the hinge already told me all I needed to know. But anyway, I digress. So now this whole situation happened. She recovered. And then he tells her that he got a new position and that he has an assistant now and that she could contact his assistant, Chris. Okay. So basically, he's just putting on a persona of who he is. He would dress up for work in regular clothes, like a polo clothes, but she said that he had a lot of nice clothes, fancy clothes, all these things. Okay, that doesn't even matter anyways.
In terms of how he dressed casually, the man, he could dress. In terms of how he dressed for work, yeah, he didn't dress like a VP. But his excuse was, I'm constantly walking the production floor, and I can't be in a suit and tie walking the production floor.
Now we continue the story. And again, I'm not going to go through everything that she said, because I feel like there are other channels that have done a wonderful job of doing that. I'm just taking bits and pieces that kind of stuck out to me and just kind of explaining the story just as shortly as possible. So now we're at the part where the house fell through. They were supposed to close on the house, already looking at furniture, everything. And apparently there was a septic tank underneath the house and they couldn't inspect it. And basically they ain't got no home. Okay, that's fine. Then there were multiple times that they went house hunting. And this is another tip for y'all. Do not let a man waste your time. This man took her on so many house hunting journeys. Looking for this house. You want this house. You want this house. You want this house. You get a house. You get a house. And then in the end, nothing was going on.
So by this point, again, this is fall. We're still looking at houses. We're still touring houses as much as we can because it is COVID. We had found another house that we really liked and a house that I really, truly wanted to put an offer in on. This was now going to be the second house that we put an offer on. He put in the asking price, I believe, was about $700,000. He put in under asking an offer for about $650,000. I'm guessing, but I'll try to find the house and put it on this the story. The reason that that house fell through, we found out that the home was sitting on a septic tank. We found out that the septic tank had an issue, and it would have taken about $15,000 to $20,000 to fix the septic tank. The sellers were not willing to fix the septic tank. Personally, I didn't really care for the house that much. I'm the one who was like, I don't really want it. So even though we put an offer in, we had 24 hours where we could pull our offer back. And so we did.
And matter of fact, there was one that stuck out to me in particular. It was a time where there was a $700,000 house. Now, I was incredibly jealous when I heard this because I'm like, where is this house? In Canada, for that size of a house, you looking at upwards of 1.5 million. So I was extremely hot when I was listening to it. I was like, wait, hold on a second. Y'all got $700,000 houses and not condos and townhouses? Legion. I'm sorry, y'all. This story is a mess. I'm trying to tell it without laughing because it's not a funny story, but it's just incomprehensible that this man was able to do all this. So then this man gonna go, it was a couple that was selling the house, and he told the realtor that he wants to put all cash down, right? So he wants to put down a cash offer for the house. And so when they start asking him like, are you gonna prove how you have that money or whatever? And he was like, no, they should accept the offer first, and then he will show proof of funds.
Here's what happened. In October, we looked at another house. This house was in Marietta. Absolutely gorgeous. It was gorgeous. I want to say that the house was about $700,000. I really liked the house. I could see myself living there. I could see myself cooking there. And so subsequently, my ex-husband put in an all-cash offer on that house. I watched him put an all-cash offer in on the house. Our real estate agent, Scott, called us about 24 hours later, and he said, the sellers love your offer. The offer was an all-cash, full asking price offer. $700,000. Let that sink in for a moment. He said the sellers love the offer. They are asking that you show proof of funds so that they can accept the offer. My ex-husband said, I will show proof of funds when they accept the offer. The seller said, great, we'll accept the offer when you show proof of funds. So basically we got into a standoff. So our real estate agent called us and was like, guys, the sellers are giving you 2 days to show proof of funds. I had the letter that he showed me from Chase. I sent that to Scott, but that was for a mortgage. The offer was for all cash. So he needed to show proof of funds that he had the cash to pay $700,000. He didn't show it. He refused to budge on showing them proof of funds until they accepted the offer because he was afraid that they were going to create a bidding war. So what ended up happening was Scott called us and said, I apologize because I didn't do my due diligence as a realtor. He said, before I ever started showing you guys a house, I should have collected your pre-approval letter and proof of funds. He said, so at this point, my broker has informed me that I cannot show you guys another house until you show at least us, meaning the real estate firm, until you show us proof of funds.
Now, I don't know in what world this man thought that he lived in. This delusional world that he lived in, obviously they do that. But in this earth, on this earth that we live in this North America that we live in, there is no way that you would be able to buy something all cash and not show where that cash came from. In order for you to pay cash with something, there has to be a paper trail. Now, this man really thought that he would be able to connive realtors. And so the realtor of the couple was like, no, we're not doing that. We are not doing that. So unless you put up the money and you show us where you got the money, you could consider this offer void. He got to huffing and hawing. And the realtor started getting his red flags turned up because he's like, wait a minute. You haven't showed us your income yet. So then the realtor starts asking him, hey, before I continue with you guys, because at this point they were just house hunting galore. He's like, I'm sitting here wasting energy and I don't even know if you guys have been pre-approved, because all he showed was the Chase letter that he was pre-approved. But anyone can doctor that. So the realtor was like, hey, I'm going to need to see real proof or else you can consider our relationship over. And so they said that they had 2 days to prove where his income came from, and he could never do it. So then that house fell through.
Also, at this point, our real estate agent, Scott, and I do not blame him for this, pretty much cut all ties. Because what he, I believe, felt like was, I don't know what's going on, but something's going on. And this is not how I do business. So until you guys are ready to show the proof of funds needed to buy a house, you need to get yourself another agent. Because we were already about 20 to 25 houses deep by this point. We had already put in 2 other offers. They fell through. And now here we are with this house. And once again, it fell through.
That all happened. And this was before they got married. And do you guys want to hear how he proposed to her?
When I'm ready, I'll give you the ring and I'll propose. Fast forward about, I guess it was summer, because I was actually pregnant when the ring came. We were sitting at the dinner table. He took the ring box out of his pocket, slammed it on the dinner table. And I was like, what is this? He was like, open it. I opened it. Inside was the ring that I had wanted, that I had chosen at the jeweler. And he was like, all right, so this means that you're going to be my wife. I was pregnant. So, again, when I asked y'all to give me grace, it's because there are certain things that's just like, girl, what was you thinking?
Well, now that you're pregnant, basically, practically, he was like, here you go. Now that you're pregnant, we got to go through with this. And, you know, apparently his reasoning for proposing to her, so he told her when he was giving his family background, his dad was a former law enforcement officer, and he was also a pastor in his prior career, and his mom was a teacher. Now, he's saying because he's a man of the word, and, you know, he grew up as a child of a pastor, that they got to get married because she's pregnant with child without marriage. Now, remember, I done told y'all in the Love is Blind review, beware of a man with a Bible. And this is the exact situation that I was talking about, because this man used her weakness against her. He knew that she was very faithful, and he knew that she wanted to be faithful to God, and he knew that she had a relationship with God, and he knew that she was disappointed that she could let this happen. And so he kind of accelerated the process. Now, we're going to get to all of his lies right now, because I'm trying to condense this video. So I'm going to probably not be in the right timeline, but if y'all want to watch her timeline, please go give her page a view, Reesa Tessa, on TikTok. And I will link all of the information of where you can find that in my description box, because this was a hell of a ride. So now they couldn't get the house. So he decides, let me concoct something else. We're going to go car shopping. You want a new car? Okay, we're going to get a new car, because she needs a new car, right? And he was like, okay, what car do you want? He got a new promotion at work. So, you know, he's supposedly bankrolling. So he's like, what car do you want? You know, he could get her an Audi or a BMW. And she said she wanted a car with chrome interior. I think she said the Audi or BMW with chrome interior. She had a whole list.
So we're pausing on the house stuff. Let me tell you about the car. So when I met my ex-husband, I was driving a 2012 Nissan Rogue, fully loaded. It had quite a few miles on it, but it got me from A to B. It was in good condition, but I was upside down in the car. He was driving a 2018 Ford Taurus, sport mode. I know he had a sport mode on the car, and I love driving that car. When he told me how he was a regional manager, he told me that one of the perks that came with the job was that he would be getting a company car. And so we spent time going to Range Rover of South Atlanta. We spent time going to Jaguar. We spent time going to BMW. We spent time going to Ford, which was on Mount Zion in Morrow, if you all are familiar with that area. He test drove a whole lot of cars. In the end, he decided on a BMW sedan. I was there when he test drove the car. I got in the car with him. I loved it. And he explained to the salesperson, you know, I'm getting a company car. I need to get a printout of the full price of the car, tax, tag, and title. Because what my company is going to do is wire over the money for the car. He really wanted me to get a BMW X5. So he took me to local BMW Imports, which, if you know anything about Atlanta, it's off of Cobb Parkway, but you can see it off the highway. I believe 285 is where you can see the Global Imports BMW dealership. He took me there. He had me test drive an X5, an X6. He also had me test drive I think I'm gonna get the numbers wrong, a 525, which was a sedan. I did not like that. I wanted an SUV. I loved driving the BMW. He also had me drive an M Series, test drive an M Series. So he was very adamant that I should get a BMW. The reason being is because, according to him, he had a BMW in California when he lived in San Diego. So much so, I loved the BMW. Loved it. I wanted a dark blue BMW with cognac interior. I wanted an X5, and I wanted an M Series. So I can clearly tell y'all that's exactly the car I wanted. We were online looking for that particular car because not every dealership had it. I was okay with a black BMW if needed, but I really wanted dark blue, and I really wanted that cognac colored interior. So he felt like, I want you to consider all of a sudden an Audi Q8. Let's just see how you like it. If you don't really like it, then we will go back to the BMW. I loved the Q8. Loved it, loved it, loved it. But I was tired of test driving cars. By this point, I had test driven so many cars. Our weekends were spent either looking at a house or test driving cars. So I told him, I was like, pick one between the BMW and the Audi, because you said you're buying it. So pick one. So this man chose the Audi. So he takes me to the dealership. I wanted a white Q8. He does give me the printout of how much it's going to cost, tax, tag, and title, to get this Q8. Gentleman who's helping us gives him the printout. He's saying he's going to pay this money for the car out of the savings account that's offshore.
He starts promising her the fanciest cars, and he was very braggadocious. And remember, I said, do not trust somebody who talks too much and offers up too much information, and also somebody who's braggadocious. So he was like, oh, you can get this car, you can get this car, I'm a VP type attitude. So she was like getting all excited, like, okay, I want an Audi, I want a BMW with chrome, I want the wheels this, I want a Hummer. Okay, she didn't say she want a Hummer truck, but I'm just making things up. So she's like getting all excited, and she's telling him what kind of car she wants. And he's like, okay, we're going to get that. He's going to put the money down on the car. Come to find out, they did not get the car that she wanted.
He said, okay, well, let me call them back and change the delivery date. Can you be home, or can you do a half day? I said, yes, that's fine. Because again, it's COVID. I'm working from home anyway. He told me the car would be delivered between the hours of 1 and 3. Obviously, between 1 and 3, nothing happened.
And matter of fact, she ended up co-signing on a car with him. And she said that she shouldn't have done that. But remember, he promised he was going to buy the car. So that already lets you know that, like, the promises, I'm getting a little tired of your broken promises. She was on that. Because she was like, oh my God, like, now it's something else. So now she done co-sign on a car. So now they get married. And she said that he started to change right after. Like, literally, they got married in January, beginning of January. 2 weeks later, they were fine. And then by the end of the month, he done turned into somebody else. So in the midst of her telling this story, she explained to the viewers that she was going to take a break from storytelling because it was her birthday. And I looked at the date of her birthday, and lo and behold, her birthday is the day after my birthday. She is an Aquarius. And now, I know some of y'all don't believe in signs. I kind of believe in some aspects of it. My good sis was an Aquarius. And once I found out, I was like, oh Lord, I knew this was going to be a mess. When I found out he was a Gemini, I was like, no. Sis, ou point. That means, girl, you in danger. She's getting fed up. She's like, you know what? I'm done. So she doesn't want to go house hunting anymore. Rightfully so. And she starts to get suspicious again. This is where the next tip comes in. For me, the speed of the marriage was not the issue, but it was the character of the person. He was lying on top of lies. Everything was falling through. Everything around him was not serious. He was so unserious. Everything around him was falling apart. Nothing he said could be verified. So at that point, I feel like he was untrustworthy. She hadn't even met his family members. I'm like, sis, how'd you get married and you didn't meet his family? I don't understand. He was saying that he had brothers and sisters and cousins and whatever, aunts and uncles. Where they at, though? Where they at? She decides to go through with this marriage because she was worried that it wouldn't go through. Red flag.
Immediately, I didn't tell anyone I was getting married because I was afraid that we had tried before in September and something came up. So I didn't want to tell anyone. I didn't want to get anyone's hopes up. I didn't want to get my hopes up. I know that's bad, but again, said I would be honest even if it's ugly. I told my mom, my family that we got married, told my friends, they could not believe it. Like my mother was relieved, but she had no idea about what was going on. My aunt was more like, really? You married him?
If you don't trust your man enough to show up to court to get married, you should not be getting married to him. She said that she didn't tell her family and friends until after the fact because he had lied to her so many times, or everything had just fallen through, that she was worried that this would fall through as well. But you know what? He wasn't going to let that fall through because that was his plan at the end of the day. He wanted to marry her. That was never the issue. So he sure showed up. Oh, he showed up on time. He couldn't show up to the DNC, but he showed up to the courthouse to get married. So then they ended up tying the knot. Remember, all the things that I said that happened prior, the housing falling through, everything falling through. She never met his friends and family face to face. Yeah. Let's continue. So now they get married. And she said that he started to change right after. Like literally, they got married in January, beginning of January. 2 weeks later, they were fine. And then by the end of the month, he done turned into somebody else. So now they're starting to have issues. They go to marriage counseling. And she goes to see a pastor and his wife. And even the pastor's wife was looking at this Legion man sideways and like, sis, I ain't gonna hold you. I'm sorry, sis, to tell you this, but something ain't right with that man. So it's like everyone that met this man says something's just not right. And, you know, it's just sad because it's like in her mind, she's trying to like kind of justify everything. But even she's starting to really see that, oh my God, this man isn't right. I do want to touch upon when she said that she found out that he was messaging other women on Facebook and she found text messages from other women. And one of them ended up being like kind of like she thought it was a prostitute that he was talking to. She said that she scrolled on his Facebook messages one day and she saw a whole bunch of women that he was messaging. And he was talking very nasty, very derogatory, and very sexually with them. He was sexually aggressive to them. And also there was another woman that I think she called her Peaches that he was texting and he was paying for services from her. What I will say is this. Beware of a man that has the Madonna whore complex. This was a theory that was created by Sigmund Freud. There are certain men that have two categories of women. One will be the woman that they will marry, and the other will be the woman that they will just sleep with. And usually men with the Madonna whore complex, they're the type of men that'll be like, oh yeah, like they'll like sleep with a girl, do all these things with a girl, but they wouldn't want her to be his wife. So for example, you can have a man who will be like, oh, you know what? Like your body count doesn't matter. Everything doesn't matter. Like I'm good with you. Like you sleep with all those guys. I don't care, right? But when it comes down to marriage, he will never choose her. He will always choose the woman who is pure, who has never slept with anyone. So the virgin, the church girl, the girl who has never slept with anyone, because he feels like she is pure and it's easier to manipulate, to be quite honest with you. I'm just being honest. It is easier for a man of that nature, with that kind of nature, to manipulate a pure woman because she hasn't had that much dating experience to know any different. And usually they're looking for a woman that they could kind of, just be submissive and that will just let them do whatever they want. So this man clearly had the Madonna whore complex because look at that. He married Reesa Tessa knowing that she's a church girl, knowing that she's very religious, or she was really close to God. She also was very submissive, and she seemed like she would let a man lead. And you got to be careful with that because some men, they do want to lead, and some men will lead you to the promised land. And some men will lead you to famine. And if you choose the wrong man, unfortunately for you, that's something that you'd have to live with for the rest of your life. And so what I will say is this. The Madonna whore complex is very real. I know a lot of men that would sleep with whoever it was, but they would never marry that girl. They're like, oh no, she for the streets. I would never be with her. But then you turn around and they're married to the most like opposite of the girls that they used to mess with or be attracted to. This man's whole entire personality was a lie. So come to find out, he's never lived in San Diego. The ex-wife that he had, this was in Atlanta. She did have 2 kids. He said that one of the kids died of COVID, and that turned out to be false. He also said that he had 3 brothers and 2 sisters, and she said that she would hear him talking to his siblings early in the morning before work, and she would even be like, hey, how you doing? And all these things. That was a lie. He only has 2 brothers. One is an older brother and one is his twin brother. And come to find out, this man is not a VP of a company. Nobody knows what he does for a living. He even took her to a cemetery. Remember, the aunt and uncle died of COVID, or so he said. And he took her to the cemetery to visit their gravesite. That was not their gravesite. That was a cemetery that he was employed at. So I don't know, some random people's gravesite, he said it was her. He said, here, that's my family. He said that his dad was a pastor and a law enforcement officer. That was a lie. His dad was actually just a truck driver. And his mom was a teacher back in the day, but she was just a substitute teacher. And his dad had never stepped foot in church except for the day that he married the mom. He barely went to church. So this man done lied about his dad being a pastor and being religious. This man lied about how many wives he had. This man lied about everything in his existence was a lie. He literally made up a whole entire persona just for her to believe him. That is scary. How they end up getting divorced is that one day she just gets real fed up because she finds out like this man is lying about everything. And she's stewing. And he got really sick. So he got super sick. I guess the lies done caught up to him. You know, sometimes karma comes to visit. So this man is sick, like super sick, weak, and you know, he can't hold himself. And on his birthday, happy birthday, she told him to get the hell out of her house. She was like, I'm fed up with your lies. You are a liar. You are a deceiver. You are a cheater. I'm done. So, you know, she gets rowdy and she kicks him out. I mean, she said that she was literally like, she was on 20. And mom had to be called. His family had to be called. So he finally leaves the house. But that's not the end of him, y'all. Oh, Legion, just like his name, tried to come back and make a resurgence back to the host. As you guys know, demons, they like to have a host to implant themselves in. Legion, he did not want to get rid of this host. He thought that she was going to stay with him. And he was like, well, I'm not divorcing you. And she's like, well, I am divorcing you. So get the heck out of here. So he leaves and he goes stays with family. So now, mind you, his family is in Philadelphia. He goes to Philly, stays with the aunt. And then he goes and tells the family that she cheated on him with a coworker. Somebody needs to test that man. Because maybe he might have multiple personality disorder. He might have so many things. I don't want to diagnose anybody, but this man is not right. Something ain't right up there. And then he finds out from whatever place, like she said, he was sleeping in his car. And then he ended up going to a hospital. He checked himself in because he had nowhere to stay. She kept all his stuff. He ended up signing the divorce papers. And then after that, I don't know who he spoke with or what he researched, but he found out that she could not unlawfully kick him out because they were married. Another advice. This is why I said do not make permanent decisions when you are vulnerable, because now she's married and it could have ended up in another way. But thankfully he had already had a warrant in his name, under his name. And this man had a criminal record. I forgot to mention that. This man had an extensive criminal record and she didn't even know. This man was a criminal. So that's how he was able to know so much about law enforcement. It's not because of his daddy. It's because he was literally living there. And he was serving a sentence on the weekend. So this man was a criminal. Criminal behavior. He was a liar. And the thing is that she got lucky because he already had a warrant for his arrest. So when he tried to show up at the house trying to come back in, he was arrested. But had he not had that warrant, he would have been able to. Because guess what? You're married now. Now you can't kick somebody out your house like that. And also, I don't know if most of y'all know, but common law also works like that as well. And on top of that, he was probably on unemployment. And that's how he was able to pay her bills. And then another thing was that when he got a divorce before the prior divorce, he filed under the pauper clause, which means that he didn't even have enough money to get a divorce. So basically, she couldn't like get anything out of him, whoever his ex-wife was. Everything is not what it seems. Be quick to listen and slow to speak, because sis could have saved her a whole lot of headache and trouble. And I'm so happy now that she's able to get a chance at life. And by telling her story, she's probably saving so many people. I know some people find it entertaining. And, you know, as much as this story was entertaining, it was also such a cautionary warning to so many of us out there. Before we end this video, I do want to let Legion get a chance to tell his side of the story. So I'm going to insert a few clips of him explaining what really happened.
My exact finances is not your business. She knew for a fact I had money because, again, I bought dinner, I did everything. Because I heard in the story where she said that we quarantined together during the pandemic. And I need to clear that up.
Was the Chase loan, the approval of the $700,000, was that a real thing?
I never went to my bank and needed to get approved for a loan.
Getting up every morning, talking to your brother. Who was on the phone? Was the proof of funds ever an issue?
To the 2 accounts I let her know about, I had 5 altogether, but she had access to them. She was able to go to the bank, buy what she wanted when she wanted to buy it.
Excruciating pain.
She did admit to me that when she was pregnant, that was the other gentleman's kid, not mine. There were all signs, but I ignored them because she was my wife, and I'm just saying she's trying to work hard. You start taking care of somebody who's going to appreciate it, and then you end up with a Reesa Tessa.
This was a fucking crazy ride.
I told her the truth.
But I truly had no idea who the fuck I married.
Somebody dating, ask. Stop trying to Google them and trying to find out stuff. And if they tell you right now, you know, it ain't necessarily none of your business, maybe you should just leave it alone. Everything ain't your business all the time about everybody. Every detail of their personal life when you first meet is not your business. It takes time and years to get to know somebody that way sometimes. Please allow the process to be the process and don't try to just dive in, because what you can do is end up putting your foot in your mouth and looking real stupid at the end of the day for saying something, making a comment about something you don't even know. So again, allow a relationship to progress, allow a person to tell you in their own time. Don't go digging, because you never know what you might find. And then, honestly, there's 2 sides to every story. So don't just sit there trying to Google people all the time, because Google wrong most of the time. Come on, man. Talk to the person you with. Stop all that foolishness, man.
All right, we gave Legion a chance to talk. If y'all want to watch his 2-hour interview, feel free to do so. I just didn't have it in me, because Reesa Tessa's stories were enough to let me know that this man ain't right. And once I heard his side of the story, I was like, oh yeah, he did it. He definitely did whatever she said he did. So it's a wrap. All in all, I truly hope that you guys enjoyed this review. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. And please let me know in the comments below any other videos that you would like me to review. Take care of your beautiful selves, as always. And until next time, bye.